AFC East is probably one of the most difficult divisions to predict for in this upcoming NFL season, and I'm here to try to get the best prediction out there for all divisions in the NFL. So this is going to be an 8-part series. I'm going to try to get this out before the season starts. We're already into the preseason. It's crazy how close football is. But I wanted to start with the AFC East because I feel like they have the most polarizing prospect of teams outside of the AFC West, I would say. Because of Tyreek Hill going to the Dolphins, we have the Tua season, we have Zach Wilson most likely hooking up with your mom, and as well the Buffalo Bills, and then don't even get me started on the mess that is the New England Patriots right now. And how these videos are going to go, I'm going to go through team by team, talking about what my expectations are for this team, what I like, what I don't like. Don't be upset if I don't talk about your team for super long periods of time, because I don't want these videos to be 25 minutes long. But it's basically going to go in order of what I predict for the standings, and then at the end of the video, you'll get a graphic of what I expect from this division in complete order with record predictions. But it's going to go 4 through 1. Basically, starting off with the last place team of the AFC East to talk about is the New York Jets. I have been on record with Players Choice Gridiron, a podcast episode when we talked about the AFC East. I said the Jets are a sleeper team in my opinion. Not to make the playoffs, but because I feel like they're going to be more competitive than people realize. Now, obviously, with training camp going on, a lot of people are talking about Joe Flacco and Zach Wilson having a potential quarterback battle, which I think is really interesting because Joe Flacco is so old and Zach Wilson was the number 2 overall pick. But here's the thing with the New York Jets that I think is super crucial for them moving forward if they want to actually be a competitive team moving forward, is obviously you want the development of Zach Wilson, and he had moments last year of just absolute atrocity at the quarterback position, but some real bright spots, and it's clear that he has talent. He has some amazing arm talent. I believe he threw a 70-mile-per-hour football. The dude has elite arm strength, but that's not the only important thing when it comes to the quarterback position. And he has drawn a lot of attention to the New York Jets. Obviously, they had a fantastic draft, in my opinion. Now, whether or not that translate onto the field, because we could say you have a fantastic draft on paper, but does it matter on the football field? Obviously, Breece Hall is an elite running back, in my opinion. He has the potential to be what Najee Harris was last year. And I think the real question, everyone wants to point to Zach Wilson, and some of the heat really hasn't been on Robert Saleh, a dying breed in the NFL of defensive head coaches. And I think if Robert Saleh doesn't show improvement, they're going to give Zach Wilson one more year and bring in an offensive head coach. Hopefully not a guy like Adam Gase, but Robert Saleh is a guy that's going to have to prove that he can be a head coach and not just a player's kind of coach. Because when he was coming from San Francisco, I really liked the hire. Robert Saleh seemed like a guy that could bond with his players, really connect with them. But being a head coach is a much different level of authority and responsibility. Now, if he ends up getting fired, he might be one of the best defensive coordinators on the market, but I really hope that he works out because I really want defensive head coaches to at least have some life in the NFL. And the biggest, I think, concern with the New York Jets is obviously how much youth can translate onto the field very early on. You may see the record that I post at the very end. I don't have it up on my screen right now, but you might see it as a really bad record, but they gotta show competitive sides to them, almost like how the Lions showed last year, being in these games and not just turning over. Obviously, injuries could hinder all of this, but I feel like this offense has to look dynamic and the defense has to show at least a little bit of a pass rush. I think the secondary is going to struggle. As much as I love Ahmad Sauce Gardner, he's going to be a rookie cornerback going against some elite level talent very early on into his career. I wouldn't be mad at him if he struggled, but I do think the New York Jets are going to be at 4th place. I don't think that's a bad thing for him, but I think this team has a lot of potential to be a sleeper team to upset a couple of these big name teams later into the season. They have a ton of youth that I like, but it all hinges on Zach Wilson, Robert Saleh to really put it together in year 2 and show some flashes. I did not expect to talk about the Jets that much, but I did want to get my opinion on that team. I didn't want to make a full video on them. But with 3rd place, in my opinion, falling from grace is the New England Patriots. Is Bill Belichick one of the greatest coaches of all time? Of course. Does Mac Jones have a lot of potential? I do think so. Does Devontae Parker show some elite traits when he is on the football field? Of course. Damian Harris, Stevenson at the running back position. A lot of talent. They're always going to have a really solid offensive line, and the defense has Matthew Judon, and they were humming last year until they went against the Buffalo Bills. There's a lot of good with the New England Patriots, but there's also a lot of bad. I do not love that they have not named an offensive and defensive coordinator. That's something that's unique, but it's just weird to me. I do not feel like this team has enough firepower to compete with other teams in the AFC. We kind of assume that they're going to be this elite level team, or at least climb to 10 wins, 9 wins, have a positive record. The same thing we do with Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. It's just this assumption that they're going to be competitive. And I do think that the Patriots are going to be one of the more competitive teams, but they have to win a certain way. And that's what concerns me, is the AFC is loaded with teams that can beat you in a multitude of different ways, as long as they're healthy, of course. But this is all under if they are healthy. I do think that the Patriots are going to be able to beat some really good teams and have some momentum. Mac Jones is a guy that's not going to make mistakes, but I don't know if he's going to be a guy that can easily win you games. He needs some more weapons. That's something that's super clear to me with the Patriots, is because as much as I like Devontae Parker, he hasn't been on the field. And when you go past him, it does not look great. They have a plethora of tight ends that could be really good, but we're talking about maybe a C+, B- tier when it comes to weapons. And I think that in the AFC, you got to have some elite level weapons. If this team was in the NFC, I think they would be in the playoffs, but I have them roughly as an 8-9, 9-8 team, and I'm concerned as how much longer is Bill Belichick going to ride with this. I was not against, Colin Cowherd saying that Bill Belichick could retire after this season. That's not out of the realm of possibility, in my opinion, because I feel that it's kind of run its course. You're seeing Tom Brady have all the success, and I think the longer we wait, the more Bill Belichick's legacy gets hindered. He is not a great drafter. I did not love their draft like most people. I felt like the strange pick was quite strange, and I feel that the Patriots, we have this expectation that they're going to at least be competitive, and I don't disagree with that, but I do not feel like this team is very easy to predict for, just because they're going to have to win a certain way. They're going to have to win the Patriot way. In reality, if you are able to shut down one of those aspects, they looked very unprepared for the Buffalo Bills. I feel like the Buffalo Bills are the epitome of the new era that is in the AFC, with all the weapons and all the elite level quarterbacks. And I do feel that Mac Jones has almost been underrated throughout this offseason, because he was almost overrated towards the end of it. People were saying he is a top 15 quarterback midway through the season, versus now where I feel like his potential is undervalued, but I do not see him making that next step with the weapons that are surrounding him. And I do feel like one of the more improved teams, but might have the same exact record as the Patriots, is the Miami Dolphins at second place. I have been on record not being the biggest fan of Tua Tagovailoa. I think that he is not the best quarterback in this division. He might even be third or fourth. I would almost, in a draft or in a vacuum, take Zach Wilson, but I have to admit, Tua, I don't think is going to put them in bad positions to lose football games. Obviously, there's a lot of new in Miami. There's a lot of excitement. I mean, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill. There's so much to love about Miami. Mike Gesicki, I could keep going. You bring in the new head coach, the running game coordinator from the 49ers. That's a big deal, because he's bringing a lot of creative looks. He's going to put Jalen Waddle in motion. I feel like Tyreek Hill is going to be a guy that's going to get a lot quick and shorter passes. He's not going to be going deep as much, but he's also going to be able to make a lot of yak plays. I think that this team could be electric on offense, but I do have a couple of concerns. And there's a reason why I have them at the same level as the Patriots, like most people do at that borderline wild card position, is the Patriots obviously do not have the flashiness, but they have the core of the Patriots way, and the running game, the good offensive line, the good defensive line. And I understand that there's a lot to like with the defense of the Dolphins, but you have to understand, just because Brian Flores is gone does not mean that this defense is going to continue what Brian Flores had on that defensive side of the ball. I do think that this defense could take a step back and be the Achilles heel for the Dolphins. I also do think that Tua at times is going to be asked to do a lot more, and I don't know if he has that in him. I do not like what Tua does when that offensive line starts to collapse. I understand Teron Armstead, fantastic pickup. I believe they picked up another guy from the Cowboys. But you can't just assume that this is going to fix all your problems. Not every single free agency hit is going to hit. And I do feel that there's going to be times where Tua's going to be rattled and he's going to be asked to make plays on the run. And when he is outside of structure, I don't like what he brings to the table. I could sit here and talk about his arm strength, but a lot of the times his technique gets very, very shaky when he is out of structure. And that's what concerns me about Tua when you ask him to get to that next level, is he going to be able to refine his game and become a better quarterback when things are not going his way? When he is in the pocket and it's a safe spot, he makes a lot of solid reads, but once you get past that first read, things get very shaky for Tua. I have been on record saying I think Trey Lance is going to have a better year. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. I think that the Dolphins could be a 9-8, 8-9 team. A lot of people have them potentially winning 10+ games. I just don't see that. Obviously, Tyreek Hill has been hyping up Tua, so who knows? Maybe Tua gets a MVP candidacy. I don't know. The Dolphins have so many variables. I don't know if the defense is going to translate with a new head coach. It's a new head coach overall. In the running back room is a lot of guys that are very injury prone. There's a lot of shakiness and questions and variables of how it's going to work, but obviously I can't deny Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are probably two of the most explosive players in all of football, and they're on the same team. Mike Gesicki is a safety valve. I like what they added to the offensive line, whether or not it completely transforms it and turns it from one of the worst offensive lines to the best. That's something we got to see. I'll be very curious if Teron Armstead actually becomes a pulling guard like what they did with Trent Williams, but I understand the hype with the Dolphins, but you got to understand there's so much talent in the AFC. I don't think that they're better than the Raiders. I don't think they're better than the Broncos. I don't think that they're better than the Ravens, the Bengals, even potentially the Steelers, and even potentially the Browns. And those are just a few teams in the AFC. And there's a lot of questions that got to be answered, and it all hinges on Tua. And I don't know if Tua has that in him, but I think the obvious answer at the #1 overall spot for the AFC East is the Buffalo Bills. I mean, what do you want me to say? The Buffalo Bills are my Super Bowl pick right now. I don't know what else to say. I'm not going to sit here and try to explain to you why the Buffalo Bills are going to be the #1 overall seed. Now, will they have this 13-4 record or this 15-3 record? I don't think so. I think that the Buffalo Bills overall, they're going to have a couple of slow starts. I have them projected almost with a Rams-like season where they start off kind of slow. They have a very difficult schedule to begin with, and I would not be surprised if they lost a couple of those games, but the back half of the schedule is when they're going to start picking up and they're going to have this momentum. Obviously, Stephon Diggs, dog. Josh Allen, dog. I think that this Dawson Knox, dog. OJ Howard, dog. Tre'Davious White coming back, dog. Kaiir Elam, dog. I think this defense, #1, according to statistics last year, was the #1 rated defense. You added Von Miller, even though it was an overpay. They're going all in for a Super Bowl this year. Josh Allen looks like a solid MVP candidate, a solid guy to bet a lot of money on to get that MVP candidacy in the AFC. I think that this team could be damn good halfway through the season, pushing forward on a super hot run. I mean, we saw them. The last time we saw the Buffalo Bills, they looked like potentially the best offense of all time from what they did to the Patriots and what they did to the Chiefs. This team looked unstoppable, and all it took was a coin toss to potentially lose them that game. I think that Buffalo is primed for a Super Bowl run, and I think the AFC East is not up for contention for the #1 spot, but I think past that it gets really confusing. But I think the Buffalo Bills not getting the #1 spot. I don't see them getting the #1 seed in the AFC because of how difficult the beginning of their schedule is. But I do see them easily getting the #1 spot in the AFC East. And I'd be curious if anyone tries to argue with me on that one. I mean, they've only gotten better this offseason. Obviously, losing Brian Dable is a key loss. But I still think that McDermott's going to be able to have that defense running. And they're not going to lose all of their talent like it's Space Jam. This team has so much talent on the offensive side of the ball. Gabe Davis looked like a Pro Bowler in his last game that we saw him. Now, do I expect that from him? Not really, but there's so much to like about the Buffalo Bills. This is a Super Bowl contender. This is a lock for the playoffs, in my opinion. And so if you're at this point of the video, hit the sub. Thank you so much for watching. Right here, wherever you see it, that's my predictions for the AFC East. We are 1 of 8 through this series. Let me know what division you want me to do next. I think I'm going to bounce from NFC to AFC back and forth. I don't know. Maybe we do the NFC North next because I feel like I might piss off some Packers fans once again. But thank you so much for watching. We are on the road to 1,000 subs. So leave a like, leave a sub. I know I'm like every other YouTuber begging for subs and likes, but literally it is one click of the mouse or one click over here with your hands. I don't know if you watch on your phone or desktop. I don't really care. But thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.